Dr. Oliver asks, here's a good question. If there was an Untold remake of Etrian Odyssey 3, what would you want the most in that remake? Personally, just personally speaking here, Etrian Odyssey 3 is probably my favorite of the original 4, and there's a lot of stuff it got right. Not everything it got right. There were a lot of things that I thought Etrian Odyssey 4 got a lot better, like a standard, easy, like, kind of beginner difficulty, which I haven't really seen in Etrian Odyssey 2 Untold. I've noticed that one difference between the original Untold and Untold 2 is that the difficulty curve on, like, the picnic setting was at least something of a challenge in the original Untold, but it's just embarrassingly easy in Untold 2. So I'd like to see more of a better difficulty balance there, and I'd like to see, like, even the standard difficulty balanced a little bit more, because it seemed to me like not just Narmer, but the Gatekeeper I recall being quite a challenge in Etrian Odyssey 3. So I'd like to see a little bit more balanced difficulty, like what the original Etrian Odyssey Untold did. That is what I think the standard should be. Anonymous asks, which two who would you... Oh. This is an interesting question, and I'm gonna give an honest answer to this question. Personally, Kine. Because, you know what? Fellow history lovers. 10 out of 10 would bang. Sildrado asks, hey Kitsune, if you ever had to change your theme to a different yokai or animal, what would it be? Can I drop the hawk part of my name? Nobody calls me that anymore, but it's part of my brand. I can't drop it anymore. Like, if I had to change, like just part of it back, I would go back to Hawk Tengu, because I didn't really upload any videos under that name, necessarily. So I guess, like, I'm fine with the name Kitsune Hawk. It's grown on me. I think it's unique enough to work. But if I can't drop the Hawk part, then I guess go back to Hawk Tengu, but I get the feeling it's a little too late for that now. But I guess that answers your question. The Dreddy Gamer asks, opinions on the Danganronpa series, did I pronounce that correctly? And if you have any plans to cover a character from it. P.S. If you have no plans, please make some. This franchise needs more attention. You're hitting my niche game soft spot right there. But, I actually don't know much about Danganronpa. I seriously have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It sounds very Japanese. I do know a lot of, like, when I was on Ask.fm, when I did questions on Ask.fm instead of Tumblr, a lot of the people I followed did obsess over that series. And from what I've come to understand is that if I ever wanted to do a video on that, it's going to be, like, hugely full of spoilers, and this seems to me like more of a game I need to go in blind, like, not necessarily like Undertale, but I do know they're on PS Vita, though. I don't own a Vita right now, so, I'd actually have to sit down and talk with one of my friends about it, because, like I said, I really don't know much about that series. Anonymous asks, what's your favorite class in the Etrian Odyssey series? The Imperial from Etrian Odyssey 4. Give it... just the Imperial is such a satisfying reward for getting near the end of the game. Plus, if you give it the Launchknet or Rune Master as a subclass, you have pretty much the most powerful element. Like, if you give it the Launchknet class, like, I gave 2 Imperials to my team. One with the Launchknet subclass, and then one with the Rune Master subclass. The one with the Launchknet subclass could do about, I think, the highest damage I got with that was 4,000 hit points of damage. I don't know why I'm stuttering so much today, but yeah, the Imperial is just OP as hell. It's a shame I haven't seen the Imperial in another Etrian Odyssey game, but we did get DLC with Etrian Odyssey 2 Untold, so maybe we'll get some DLC for Etrian Odyssey 3 Untold. Jack the Lightning Ripper asks, what stages from Smash 64, Melee, and Brawl do you think should return in Smash 4? Now this is a bit of a tricky question because I don't have a Wii U, so I haven't played Smash 4 yet, not even the 3DS version. So I don't know which stages they decided to include and which ones not to include. This is gonna sound seriously stupid on my part, but I guess the, was it Saffron City, or was it Celadon City that got a stage in Smash 64? I remember, I don't really remember all the details, but just from what I remember reading of the original Smash 64, I always was kind of wondering why that one didn't come back yet, so I guess that answers your question. I might have to come back to that one after I've played a round or two of Smash 4, but, there you go. Anonymous asks, now that you are 3,000 plus subs going strong, I was wondering what do you see yourself doing down the line in terms of content for YouTube? I actually have thought about expanding the character development series. I just need to read up on a little bit of copyright because I would like to push it into another medium because I get a lot of requests to do anime characters. So I've thought about maybe pushing the series into animation, like both Western and Eastern animation. Because that is, I do have a lot of friends that tell me I need to get to watching like more of like what cartoons are relevant these days, like on Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon and all that, as well as anime and that sort of thing. So I've thought about maybe kind of binging if I ever get like a slow period of time where I don't really need to work on game-related videos, and then maybe start up an animation-themed channel. That's really the only thing I see like right now. Because 3,000 subs is still pretty puny in the grand scheme of things. I don't really see any big plans until like maybe 10,000 subscribers. I don't know. I think like maybe just not think about that for now because 3,000 is still pretty small. Anonymous asks, for a while now I wondered how you would do research for character development and now caricature development. Saw a glimpse of it in the Uesugi Kenshin episode, though I thought I would ask for a more detailed account of it, how long it usually takes, and what particular frustration you normally encounter. In any case, love the series and content, hope you have a fine day. Signed, Cast Starter. I called you anonymous there, didn't I? So, the way I do research for character development is I usually start by going to the character's wiki page. A lot of, like, generally they have a trivia section there, but I don't fully trust that when I see it. Like, I'll go to the trivia section to know where to get started. But when I find that, I usually read into it myself. I go in and try to see if I can prove or disprove everything that's on the character page, like, right there on the wiki. And if I find a lead, like, for example, Uesugi Kenshin, I just found, I think it was one of my friends who actually spoke a little bit of Japanese, who was talking about hiragana and how differently it was used in historical Japanese society. So I looked that up. I usually verify at least 2 or 3 websites before I put something in. And that's how I figured out that, yes, hiragana in historical Japan was closely associated with women's writing. But for, like, more mythological information, I do have textbooks, like, just referential material for consulting in that. The Oxford Encyclopedia for World Mythology, I do believe it's called. That's usually my go-to for just quick overviews, like the best way I could explain a mythological content. I seriously have no idea why I'm stuttering so much today. So really, I have, like, printed material, but for the most part, a lot of the research is done electronically, but I am very, very anal about which sources I will and will not use. So, the most frustration that comes out of making an episode. These episodes usually take, I think the shortest episode I've done was made in 3 days. 3 or 2 days. It was one of the early episodes. And I think the longest episode that it took to make was actually the episode on Peacock, because that was nearly a year in the making. But the frustration, like, what usually the most frustrating part is, of course, footage gathering. Because, just watermarks. Can we talk about watermarks for a second here? Because I am anal, like super specific about having to have as much HD footage as possible. So when people slap their frickin' watermarks all over it, it frustrates me to no end. I mean, I can understand slapping a watermark on something if you own the content, but if you're just recording yourself doing a let's play of a game, why the hell do you have a watermark there? The Honorable Soldier asks, will you be doing any more Hyperdimension Neptunia character development episodes? Yep. Like, I've wanted to do Blonde, but the only thing that worries me about Blonde is, of course, Nintendo's footage policy. I'd be a little concerned that Nintendo would try to take that down or just demonetize it. Because I really do want to talk about all 4 of the main CPUs. I've already covered, I've done both of the Last Station characters. So I've done Noah and Uni. So I do want to do at least one representative from each of the 4 nations. So I guess that would mean, like, more than likely, if I were to do more Hyperdimension Neptunia character development episodes, it would probably be in the order of maybe Nepgear, Ver, and then Blonde. Because I really need to work out, like, how an episode with Blonde would work with Nintendo footage. But no, I am not done with talking about Hyperdimension Neptunia on the show. Luciano BS asks, "Hello, it just occurred to me. How hard/interesting it would be to make a musical development? I mean to watch a genre of music and see how it has developed over time. For example, the music of Prince of Persia: The Sand of Time is from Arabia. But I don't remember hearing it anywhere else. At the same time, I think classical music is one of the most used genre in video game history, and deservedly so. So how does musical development sound?" It's funny you've said that, because I've always thought, like, maybe I could do, like, a series talking about classical music, because I am just super into classical music, and I don't understand why most people aren't, but I guess just tastes. Now, I do like the idea of a musical development, but researching, like, traditional Arabian music, like, right there, I'd have to go into, like, maybe Persian influence, Mesopotamian influences, because that's the weird thing with talking about ethnomusicology, is it like, a lot of cultures' music just bleed into each other. That's just the only iffy bit that strikes me, and as well as, like, close neighboring countries trying to tell them apart. Like, comparing Roman and Greek music is easy to do, but what if I had to compare, say, Belgian and French music? As far as I know, that there's not much of a significant difference between those two. So, it could be an idea, but I'm just worried about, like, cultural bleeding probably slowing everything down in that. Like, if I ever wanted to talk about Japanese music, I'd have to talk about Korean music and how that came from China, and how Korean music got into Japan in the first place, that sort of thing. So it would require a lot more research than what I do normally, but I like the idea. Anonymous asks, "Out of curiosity, do you also do anime-related things too?" I just answered a question about that, about how I've wanted to make a second channel to talk about animation. Now, I'm not savvy on anime, to be honest with you. Like, I'll start a series, maybe get a few episodes into it, and then I usually forget to finish it. Like, I think the only anime series I've watched in its entirety is Durarara, because I've tried to watch, let's see, Higurashi I've tried to watch, didn't finish. Kill la Kill, I think I got through the first half, but didn't finish. Gurren Lagann, I still need to finish. I got up to, I think it was episode 7, and that's when people say it gets really good. A lot of people are asking me to watch Fate, so I need to get, like, more, like, into anime before I actually talk about anime specifically for a channel, but as I mentioned in one of the previous questions, I have thought about doing a channel specifically based on animation, but the only problem is, of course, copyright. There's very different copyrights between anime content and gaming content, so I'm very familiar, at least with fair use when it comes to gaming content. I really need to read up on anime copyright and fair use before I really do anything with that, just to avoid any finicky legal matters. Dranos12 asks, "Can you do a character development on the Gold Third from Hyperdimension Neptunia 7? Or is it V2? I know it was originally Victory 2, now it's V2, now it's Mega Dimension, not Hyperdimension. What the hell is the name of the game?" Now, I have talked about, in the lone unscripted episode I have talked about Esha. But now that the game's out, I'm gonna wait until it gets a Western release before I do, like, this kind of thing, just in case there's changed dialogue from the English and Japanese versions. But that's an interesting idea, I will give you that. But I'd like to focus more on the other 4 main nations, because I'd like to do a Planet Neptune episode before I do anything related to any other characters like that. Anonymous asks, "So, do you read Homestuck? And if so, will you make a video pertaining to it, hint hint, top 10 Homestuck characters?" I actually did read Homestuck several years ago. I don't really remember much about Homestuck, but I probably would not have the time to reread all of it, because holy piss, there are a lot of pages in Homestuck. Do you know how many pages are in Homestuck? It's a lot! And I just realized I'm actually wearing my Vriska t-shirt right now, so good question. Drake Vagabond asks, "So how's the blackness of Tumblr faring for you?" Admittedly, I'm actually liking Tumblr quite a bit. I don't really use it as much as I do Twitter or YouTube, but I like it. I haven't run into any of the bad stuff quite yet, but I get the feeling that's a bit inevitable. Anonymous asks, out of curiosity, have you ever considered doing countdown lists or character development videos for anime characters, or do you just stick with games? This is a very popular question, I see, but I've thought about it. And I've gotten close to considering it, but I really need to read up more on the differences in copyright, as well as get more into anime before I do anything aside from gaming. Because the great thing about working with gaming content is a lot of what I do is protected by fair use, because it's meant to be educational. But the thing is about, that's just allowing me to use the footage, of course. But the thing is with anime is, I've noticed like anime companies are super restrictive about the footage. Some more than others, but as I've mentioned twice now, it's something I need to read up more on. Ask the Imperishable Trio asks, hi Kitsune Hawk, I am a fan of your works, and I also love your character development about Touhou. So I want to ask you, what might happen if Clown Piece is a playable character in the next Touhou game, or will she be forgotten like Sho and Orin? See, I actually... I still have yet to play Touhou 14 and 15, like, I've played all of them up to 13. I haven't gotten to 14 and 15 yet, so I don't know much about Clown Piece, but I do know she looks like she's a wannabe Statue of Liberty or something. I honestly don't see her being very popular, now that I think about it, but that's just me, like, just basing it off of what little I know about Touhou 15 right now. And please do not mention Sho and Orin, please. I want them to be playable one day. But no, to answer your question, I don't know, this is just based on blind opinion, but she doesn't really look like the character I think would be popular. But in general, when it comes to Touhou games, it's always the 5th stage boss that ends up being popular. I mean, we've seen that with Sane, we've seen it with Sakuya, we've seen it with, what's her name? Mononobe no Futo. And then our last question for this session is from Anonymous, who asks, hey Mr. Hawk, I was wondering if you can do an episode on Bane Hollow the Lycan from Dota 2. I think Lycan has one of the more interesting backstories for a werewolf. And besides, you did videos for LoL and Smite, so why not round it out with a video on Dota? I'm actually surprised it's taken so long for somebody to ask about Dota, because when it comes to MOBAs, there is of course LoL and Dota, and then Smite. Smite's picking up popularity these days. I'm really surprised that most of the requests have been from LoL and Smite, and now I get a decent request from Dota. Now, I'd have to read into the character to actually answer your question, but it's definitely a thought. I would definitely love to talk about Dota, because it seems to me like MOBAs have really interesting, like, characters in terms of what they pull out of the source material. So if it's kind of like in the same vein as LoL and Smite, I definitely know that, yes, that would make it for a good episode. Plus, I haven't really talked about werewolves on the show yet, and I really do like having that sort of variety in myth. So, yeah. I'll definitely read into it, so hopefully I can credit you with that if it becomes an actual episode. If not, if I actually forget about that, I guess you can comment on any upcoming episode and then suggesting it there. But, yeah, I'll definitely read into it.